got Facebook, you got Instagram, you got Twitter, you got LinkedIn, and now Open Tenders, a uniquely South African social network for tenderpreneurs. This is Tonight. I'm Bruce Whitfield. Tonight to speak to two of the three founders, Sivo Makungu, who's the founder and Chief Executive Officer of Open Tenders, and Madoda Kuzwayo, founder and chairman as well, to find out why they're providing much needed service for perpetuating a culture of tenderpreneurs. Tenderpreneur is a swear word, isn't it? In South Africa, it's become a swear word.
Well, it's become you're right, Bruce. It has become a swear word in South Africa, but we need to change that, because if you have a country which is procuring, and you have a government that is procuring 1.3 million, and you're a taxpayer and you're a businessman, you got to have a piece of that. You got to be interested in having a piece of that. And so if you're a businessman and you're not tendering for services to government, one, you're not supporting government then, because you have a service to provide, and you're not supporting government for them to be able to get your service. So it may be a swear word, but nonetheless, we need to change that.
Is the tender process working? I mean, is the tender process working well enough? One gets the sense that there is an element of corruption within the tender process that can infiltrate from time to time. We see massively inflated tenders being awarded. We see the cost of goods and services to government being escalated in some cases. Yes.
Yes, I mean, if you look at all governments actually around the world, you know, the tender system is not just used only in South Africa. And from where we come from, it's just in the past, it's never been transparent, you know, and that's probably where the corruption comes in, you know. For example, if there is a tender that's coming out and then only 4 or 5 people know about it, then you have a situation where there is a chance there could be corruption there. But if all tenders or all procurement opportunities in government were to be made open, transparent, to give everyone a fair chance to at least apply, then that's actually a good start.
So then, Sivo, how are you then doing this network? So you're not using established platforms like Twitter and LinkedIn and all of those. You're actually creating a new platform. Are you doing it mobile, or are you doing it on an app basis? How is it going to work?
We're doing it both ways. We're doing it mobile, and we're doing it, of course, on the internet. And we are, nonetheless, using those other mechanisms for letting people know about what we do, the Facebook, the Twitters, and so on. Because what we are is we're a business social network, whereas those are simply just social networks. So the idea is simply this. We aggregate all of the tenders throughout government. There are about 650 government institutions. Yeah. And so if you are a tender, or rather, if you're a business person who provides a specific service, you have to go through 650 different sites. What we've done is we aggregated all of that. All you have to go to opentenders.com, and you will find every tender that is out there in government.
Are you doing this independently of government? Is government using you as the conduit? Do you have state support for this, Madoda?
No, we're actually doing it independently at the moment. And I mean, as an entrepreneur, you see an opportunity that if I'm struggling with the problem of actually getting to find out where work is, I'm assuming that 2 million other SMEs out there are actually going through the same problem. So we saw that as an opportunity. And just to add what Steve was saying, if you look at what exists out there, there is Facebook in terms of networking, collaboration, and whatever you can do, but it is a social network. And there is, for example, LinkedIn, but LinkedIn existed to connect, you know, job seekers with job opportunities. So we saw an opportunity for an additional network where we connect entrepreneurs with procurement opportunities. Yeah. And that is the idea, and that's what the business is at. Because over and above just getting a tender from government, I could be doing business with Sivu, I could be doing business with Bruce.
Yeah. How do you source the information then? Because if there are 650 potential portals for you to draw this information, how do you make sure you don't miss them? I mean, how do you ensure that every single tender available in South Africa at this very moment is available on opentenders.com?
Well, in a number of ways. Madoda is our IT expert as well, as much as the channel. So we have a software where whenever government posts something on their website, which is a tender, we're able to have a link into that immediately. So that's one way in which we source it.
You hack government, awesome.
So that is one way to source it. And of course, I used to work for government for many years, for 16 years. And so we've established as well relations with government for them to be able to provide us with information when we need it. So,
how do you guys make money?
The way in which we make money is an entrepreneur registers with us. An entrepreneur will pay 99 Rand per month to register. And for that, we give them the following. One, they have access to all the tenders in government. Two, they have access to funding. We've brought in a funding partner because we found that with our platform, people were starting to getting business opportunities, but they didn't have the financial capacity to pull through that business opportunity. So we brought in a funding partner.
Who's that?
Our funding partner is a company called Royal Fields Finance.
Royal Fields Finance.
Yes.
Who are they? Where they come from?
Well, we're a shareholder in,
Okay.
in that business. So they're basically part of us.
Okay.
In a way. And in that platform.
And where's that funding coming from?
Well, that funding, which we received from Royal Fields Finance, is one of it came from the DBSA, the
Okay.
Jobs Fund. If you about 50 million came from the Job Fund, 30 million came from IDC, and then we had 20 million come from a private partner. So
okay, so it's a 100 million
100
rand
million.
fund, which you can then utilize to help people looking for tenders to fund the process of setting up that tender.
Precisely. And all they need to do is just go to opentenders.com, press funding, indicate exactly what they need, and what we find is really contract finance. So you must basically have a contract that says this is the job you need to perform and you need so much money for it, and we'll come through. And our funding window is between 70,000 and 2.5 million.
How many tenders are available in South Africa in any given year? Are we talking about thousands, tens of thousands of tenders?
Tens of thousands. I mean, you're looking at 1.3 trillion procurement that government is actually procuring. And currently, this is now this is now January, and we're sitting at about 13,000.
13,000 tenders.
13,000
tenders.
Yes.
Available so far in
Just
2015. And
yeah,
that's
just
from everything from
2015,
school
yes.
meals to school books
Yeah.
to tires for municipal buses
Yes.
to all of that sort of stuff.
To catering, to anything. And in most cases, it's not even just large infrastructure projects, which in most cases only big businesses can actually go for that. It could be as simple a thing as supplying stationery to a school. It could be cleaning services
How does
to a
this
library.
then fit in with
Yeah.
then Rob Davies' charming triple BE codes from the DTI? Because there are so many layers of complexity that are added into the tender process. Do you provide the documents? Do you provide the help to fill in the tender documents? I hear horror stories of guys who go into the tender process and there's a dot that's not on page 47 of the application form, and on a technicality the dot is missing, it is chucked out as being insufficient, and somebody who may have had a poorer tender gets the tender because they filled the forms in properly.
Well, I think to do that, what we do, we facilitate the training process. We facilitate training process on how to do tenders properly. We're not the ones that provide the documents themselves, because what usually will happen when a tender comes out, the department will indicate where you must pick up the document. So we provide you the information of where you're picking up the document, and the department will indicate as well how much you must pay for picking up the document. So we'll provide you that information, and we'll provide you the information of when that tender is open and when that tender is specifically closed. And then what we will do is, on an ongoing basis throughout the year, we usually will provide a facilitated process for training on how you can do a tender appropriately.
Okay, because I mean, lots of people get blood noses and people get put off the idea of going for tenders simply because it is a bureaucratic blooming nightmare. It has to be, I suspect, in order for the levels of transparency. How does having opentender.com, is it open tender or tenders?
Open tenders.
Tenders, opentenders.com. How does that facilitate more transparency in what is quite an opaque process?
I think to start off with, on our side, is that every opportunity that comes out needs to be put out there, and it needs to be open to everyone.
So if I can see it, you can see it, we can all see it.
Exactly.
We can all go for it, and then the tender process takes
Then
its
we
course.
can start, you know, and I mean, for open tenders, that's probably where it stands. You know, we want to make sure that you get to know about the tender on time, you know, because there's no point in you seeing the tender on a Sunday paper when on Monday it's closing.
Yeah.
You know, you need to know at least 30 days in advance, because you need to prepare for this. I mean, if
What is the most prolific government department in terms of issuing tenders?
Public Works.
Public Works, they would be. And what is the biggest opportunity for people who want to get into the space in terms of offering their services? Is it in technology? Is it in food services? Where is it?
construction.
Construction.
Yeah.
Constructions.
We see a lot in construction.
And that's coming out of the Department of Public Works, is it?
Mostly.
Yeah,
Mostly. And the values, we got 1.3 trillion rands worth of tenders being issued. There are 13,000 tenders in circulation as we speak. How many people then are in the tenderpreneur business? Because you must have a strong network.
Well, we do have a strong network. I mean, currently, in terms of our own membership, that people that have already in our network, we're sitting at almost 2,000 members. But there's actually 2 million small and medium enterprises in South Africa. But that's a small drop. And the idea why we set up this platform is this. We want to increase the level of entrepreneurship in South Africa. it must be in an area where almost everybody believes that I can be a business person. And that will enable us to decrease the unemployment rate. So that's why we did this. So anybody now does not even need to go buy a newspaper. They just become a member, opentenders.com, and they will get the information about tenders on their phones or on their computers.
For those of us who write for newspapers, we hope people buy newspapers nevertheless. You still have to buy newspapers. It's a compulsory thing, especially on Sundays. Sipho Makungu, thanks very much for coming in to see us this evening. It's been really good to see you. And also this evening, my daughter Kuzwayo. They've started opentenders.com. It's a way of finding out every single government tender that is available. You can go onto the site, you can find out the tenders, you can filter, you can have a look. And if you don't have the money in order to stage the tender, these guys will lend you the cash as well. What do I expect to pay?
Only 99 Rand per month.
No, if you're going to lend me money. Oh. Is it like going to a machonista, or is it,
no.
do you give me a decent rate?
No, we'll give you a very decent rate, worthwhile for your business.
There we go. Well, hopefully. Well, check it out. Let me know if it works or if it doesn't work. Thank you for watching. That was Tonight with Bruce Whitfield. Till next time. Bye-bye.